You're listening to the GreenSkull podcast.
A podcast for Fife fans, music artists, and creatives alike. Oh, boom.
For sure.
All right, cool. What's up? Rito, right? That's how you say it?
Yup, Rito.
Rito?
Some people say it Mexican Rito, but I prefer Rito.
Oh, okay. Where's Rito come from? Is that like your nickname?
That's my real name.
Oh, really? Just Rito?
Yeah, just Rito. That's my first name.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was short. Decided just to choose something short, and my name's already short, so go with that. Yeah.
Honestly, it's a
But
good name because it's easy to chant, you know?
it really is. Yeah, it's like a couple syllables.
Yeah, like for a show and shit, just Rito.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The 2-syllable names always kill it at the shows.
That's what I noticed.
But yeah, shit, man.
Sure.
Did you have a different rap name before that, or was it just always Rito?
Yeah, before it came, it was a Spook IV. So that's just like a little something I had. That was just a name that kind of like a username for Xbox or whatever, something like that. I kind of just went with it. And yeah, and my family used to, go along with it too. But I had to switch it up, switch my name back, get to like a center base. So yeah, I had an original rapper name, but I feel like this is a lot easier to get into just my name.
Yeah, I get you. Shit, I actually know a lot of homies who run it off the Xbox gamer tag and shit, just like,
Really?
fuck it, that's the name.
That's hard.
Yeah, but shit, so let's talk about it, man. How did you get into this, like making music and stuff like that?
Dude, it's been a long ride. I mean, before rap came into my life, there was a lot of like pop music, like radio music.
Okay.
So one day, someone comes along and tells you about this rapper or tells you about this song, and then you kind of get like addicted and you keep going into like the rabbit hole of that one rapper. And then eventually it goes into like more rappers and stuff. So that's where like the love kind of grew when I was a little kid. Yeah, I mean, I looked at all these other rappers like, dang, man, the way they make you feel and stuff like that. I think I could do the same with my words as well. And ever since then, I just been trying it. So I'd say I started when I was like a good 14, like actually into rap like
Okay.
12.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's a little bit later. Some start when they're really young, but me, I picked it up a little later. And yeah, I just kind of went with it.
It's actually not that bad though. Like 14 it's actually not that late if you think about it. Because I mean, I feel like everyone becomes conscious of what they're actually doing by the time they're like 10, maybe 11.
Yeah.
If you're lucky,
Yeah.
like when you realize, hey, yo, I could actually do this on my own,
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that for sure. It feels a little late too for me though, because when I started, when you get into a genre, it feels so close. Like you just know that one artist and you just know that one thing. You know what I mean? And I didn't really have a lot of people to just be like, here's this artist too, and here's this was popping. So I just kind of stuck to that one artist. So when I finally really got into it, like I finally understood it, it felt like I was just so late. Everyone already knew about all these different artists, and I was like stuck on like Eminem. You know what I mean? And it
Oh,
was
I get you. Yeah.
yeah, it was difficult to like learn how to listen to rap, because at that time, especially when I was getting into it, trap was really getting like crazy, you know what I mean? And by then it was like it's kind of harder to get into because you're so used to listening to that one artist or that one sound that when like trap came in, it was like, okay, it's a little hard to get into it. But then you learn and then you kind of start trying their stuff too. And it gets pretty it took a little bit for me to realize what rap really was. But
Oh, I get you.
yeah.
So what did the beginning, what did it look like? Did it look like you're just recording off of something small, or was it like making beats, just
Yeah,
freestyling?
I remember the first time I actually made like something, I was on, I don't know if you know the app BandLab. Uh
BandLab?
People
No,
know
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, it's like a little recording app and you could post your songs and stuff. And it was like way back, like I tell you, like 14, like it was crazy. I was just sitting there and I was like listening to these people who are like they have a certain section where you could leave it open for like an open verse, and anyone could just get on. So I'll just kind of get my little iPhone headphones and just like sit on my couch in my living room late at night so no one could hear me. Because I didn't know how people would react to me being like a rapper. You know, I was kind of like a good kid. So I wouldn't like when me cussing and all that stuff was kind of like a
Oh
big
yeah.
like a switch. But yeah, so I was just like sitting in the living room, just like spitting some bars, you know. God, they were horrible. Like they were nowhere near good, but it was
I
definitely
get
the
you.
groundwork. And from there, you get a little more invested. You buy your first $50 mic, and then you go up and up and up and keep leveling up your stuff. But yeah, it was started really from just little iPhone mic to my phone.
Shit.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Shit. My start was with what was it called? It was a T-Mobile Razor, one of those like shitty ass, like the phone was like this big,
Yeah.
and I would literally put the speaker with the beat and record on the recording, like whatever the phone had a recording thing.
Wow.
Bro, the songs were trash, but it was still hella fun, when you're young and you don't
Yeah.
give a fuck, you know.
Yeah. That's crazy. So you use the phone, the recording on the little, was it like a, what type of phone? Was it like a flip phone or was it like a certain like
It's
a
a it's a
touch?
it, it's called a T-Mobile Razor. It literally looks like this. Like
Oh,
it's
okay.
that big. It's really, oh shit, it's just see through. What the fuck? But it's like it's really small and shitty. And but I still have those songs, those recordings. I
Oh,
still have
really?
them. They're hella trash, but like I'm proud of it still because that's like the beginning right there, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I still have my old songs too, like way down on my feed, like all the bottom. I'll go back eventually and I'll be like, damn, look how far we came. But yeah, that's pretty dope, man. It's a cool little story to tell. Use a little phone
Yeah,
for that.
the beginning. Like I
Yeah,
started doing like freestyles at the skate park until I eventually learned that you could do it yourself, you know?
yeah,
That took me a
yeah.
while though to figure that out.
A lot of freestyle sessions before you got to the recording.
Yeah, I didn't get to record. Like I was rapping like around the same time, like 12, and then actually recording myself was around 17. So
17.
it took a
Okay, yeah.
minute, you know?
Yeah, yeah. For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot easier now because anyone could just like save up enough money to buy that mic and just start recording. It really opens the door for a lot, but just because the door is open doesn't mean like, everything that gets through is good. But I understand like, yeah, like nowadays, like any 14-year-old could just pick up the mic and just start rapping. But it was a little
Yeah.
difficult. Like the generation between like just one generation difference of recording and getting it done is so different. Like it's crazy, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
it was a lot more work just a couple years before. But
It really
yeah,
was. If you think back, like I remember 16 trying to record, still music was trash, all that stuff, but I was still trying hard.
yeah,
And then that I even realized like how small YouTube was around that time. And if you look
hmm
at YouTube now, like just with the YouTube space, it's kind of like the rap space now. It's like hella oversaturated, bro. Like there's so many, like how you said, anybody could do it. Like
yeah,
now anybody could get a mic, anybody like people like young kids want to be YouTubers now. So it's like young kids are already discovering that you could be a rapper today. Like you
yeah,
don't have to wait no more. That shit's
yeah.
crazy.
And going to that YouTube stuff, I go on TikTok and the live streams that pop up. I don't know if you use TikTok, like the live
Yeah,
streams that
I'd
pop
be
up.
on TikTok sometimes.
Yeah, some live streams pop up and it's just some person rapping for hours, just like freestyling, like straight up hours. And I'm like, this kid looks like super young, but like that's crazy how you get that audience just from like picking up the mic and doing like not whatever because I'm pretty sure he practiced and stuff, but kind of the bare minimum because you could just like get any beat off YouTube and then you like it's kind of crazy to me that the work that you have to put in for some people are just like way less just because the algorithm kind of just ticks for some
Yeah.
people. That's kind of disingenuous in a way, but it's just the way it works now. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, actually TikTok surprises me. Like I've seen it's weird because like the views and likes don't add up on other platforms. Like it's
Yeah,
really fucking weird. Like I'll post something and it'll get like 5,000 views like this. And then like different platform, 2 likes, like 10
yeah,
views. Like how does this even work? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand the algorithm at all, bro. Like, that's just weird.
It's a weird one for sure. You know, what I think they do is they push the videos that have like that are like a random, you know, that may seem random to the algorithm. They push those to people, to like random people, and then they like blow up instead of you having like a consistent like content of the same thing. Like they that disfavors you into the algorithm more than you just posting randomly. You know what I mean? That kind
Yeah,
of blows up instead of you just like having a consistent. Whereas YouTube, you know, you can post consistently and then that's where the growth shows, you know. But TikTok is kind of different. You got to be really random with it for it to pop off. It's kind of strange.
yeah. I mean, it does. I do get what you mean. Like the video that got 5,000 views was fucking. I flipped a water bottle and I had audio on it. Like that was it.
Yeah,
Fucking,
like the most random stuff that just like pops off.
it's
Uh,
so stupid. It's like the fuck's going on with TikTok out here?
you could put like hours into like a video, nicely edited, all that, and it'll get like 100 views while your water flip video gets 5,000. It's crazy.
Yeah, it actually made me kind of sad. I was like, fuck this TikTok shit.
For real.
It's all good
So
though.
that
But so when you started making music, what was your first platform? Like did you hop on the SoundCloud wave or were you on YouTube?
gotta hop on that SoundCloud wave first. It was around that time where
Okay.
like, you know, X was kind of blowing up and all
Bro,
that
SoundCloud
stuff.
was popping.
It
It
was
was
popping.
popping.
It was great. It was like free for all almost. Like any artist was just like blowing up off of like that certain sound that was going around. And yeah, I just hopped on it and I was like, I'm just gonna upload my songs and I'd upload them. They'll be kind of shitty. I was using Audacity, the classic free
Yep,
recording, you
the
know.
classic free, bro.
It's classic.
I feel like everyone's used Audacity.
Yeah, it was there when FL Studio was $100. You know, I just can't couldn't do it at the
Yeah.
time, but got Audacity on my side. I had the Audacity to have Audacity. But yeah, so I used that and I was just sending my songs to friends, being like, hey man, what you think? And they'll be like, dog, this shit sounds ass. And I'm like, all right, bet, bet for sure. But
That's
you know,
funny
it
as hell.
kind of give me a drive to keep going and just keep making. And yeah,
Hell yeah.
so I just had to keep going. A lot of shit songs before I made a good one that was actually on beat and everything, you know, a lot
Yeah.
of wasted beats, in my opinion, that before I finally had like that solid song, it's like, okay, now I understand. But yeah, it was a grind in the beginning, you know.
Hell yeah. So what was that like? Was it did you go by Spooky Ivy at that time on SoundCloud?
Yeah, yeah, I went by I went by Spook Ivy. I went by that for a long time actually, for a while, for a couple years, just because it was like the only name I knew. I wasn't ready to just like embrace it 100%. So I was just like, all right, just keep putting music out. I didn't really care about like the marketing. I knew about it, but I didn't care about it. I just kind of just put music out to
Oh,
practice,
okay.
get my
Yeah.
vibe up, and all that stress would come later. But yeah, so I just kind of went under Spook IV. I just kept doing my thing, kept sending it to my friends, family. You know, it was a very bubble like process at the beginning because I was kind of like protective of my music. I just didn't want anyone to listen to it. You know, I had to be just had to be the people who cared first that listened to it. And then from there, you know, maybe I could build up my confidence, which happened over time. But yeah, so how to go into that name, how to yeah, it was a weird name because people were just like, dude, why don't you just, you know, do your own name? And I'm like, I don't know, just I already chose it. It's already on the title. It's already on my, you know,
Like it's
my
too late,
username.
bro. I'm in
Too
too
late.
deep.
I'm in too deep, you know, that's what I thought. So I just kept it and kept rolling with it. But
Well, how would you describe your music as Spook Ivy, right? Spook
yeah.
Ivy? How would you
So
describe that music? Because I've heard your music now as Rito, but
yeah.
I don't know how would you describe that?
So Spook IV to me is like the very internal stuff at the time. Like let's say you're growing up as a kid, every kid has those struggles, you know what I mean? Whether it be socially or whether it be like at home, whatever, you know. So that to me was like taking a lot of it was like therapy, you know. The music to me was a therapy at the time. So the sound that Spook Ivy produced was very uh like I like to say freeform. Like it was rap based, but a lot of it was just like ideas, ideas that you put together. And some of it had rap, but a lot of it had singing, you know, and a lot of it had this. A lot of it sounded really cringe and corny. and a lot of it, like most of it, sounded cringe and corny. But every now and then you get that like that little gem, that little diamond that, okay, I could keep doing this and this can grow, but everything else can kind of stay behind, you know? And that's kind of what Spook IV was. It was just like really the testing ground of the potential that I had. And yeah, I just kind of had to make, I made tracks on tracks. I made mixtapes on mixtapes with Spook IV. Um, I just kind of kept it under because, you know, a lot of the allure for me for rap is the theme that you could build around tapes and the story that you could put into it. That's like a drug, you know. It could like you could get so deep into it where it's like, oh man, every song you make can be part of it, you know. It's just like my own story that I'm building. Like you could go crazy deep into it. And I took that later when I changed my name to Rito now. But yeah, so a lot of it was just fitting themes, getting songs that sounded the same, putting it together, making mixtapes, and just, you know, figuring out where I wanted to be as a rapper. It's kind of crazy. But
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. What made you do the switch?
at some point as a rapper, you have to, any artist really, I keep saying rapper, but I mean like artist, just someone who takes a creative journey, right? You have to make a decision whether this is just going to be something you do on the side, or this is going to be something that you're going to take and you're going to like put on your shoulders, and this is what you do, you know. And that's a big decision. Sometimes it takes people just like a day, just like, all right, I'll do this, I'll run with it. But for people who really like care about it and really want to put their all into it, it's a decision that takes years for you to decide. So, and it could be the smallest thing that tells you, okay, now you're in it. For me, it was a name change. Like for me, I was just like one day, you know, I'm tired of just taking myself as like putting up these mixtapes on the side, this, that. I want to be able to like make something and then like actually be proud to put my name onto it. So boom, name switch, just put my first name, easy. That's where it came from. Just wanted to take it seriously, wanted to turn it into like a business, you know what I mean? Look at it from the marketing, all aspects, and take that into account. Because before with Spook IV, I was just making music to make it. That's the difference. Now I could be able to look at it objectively and be like, okay, this album doesn't, or this mixtape doesn't have too many bangers. It needs to have a banger. If it doesn't have a banger, then it won't get the views, you know. And that's just a way that we have to think. If you don't think like that, then it kind of gets, you kind of get lost. You won't pick up the traction that you need. And by banger, I don't mean, you know, giving in and being unauthentic and, you know, just making the classic trap banger. I mean, something that means something to you, but still gets the people's head moving, you know, like that's what I mean by banger. But yeah, so a lot of the thinking comes from changing your name, just taking it seriously, flipping that switch. I mean, like, all right, I'm all in now. Yeah, that's where the name came. That's why I changed my name.
Damn, that's great. I like how you get into like details too. And actually, so I go by MCKG as a musician, but I didn't change my name, but I added a name. So it's like I guess another alter ego, because
Yeah.
I had a hip hop show. It was called Nonstop Hip Hop. And so, but I was under DJ GreenSkull at the time. So
Okay.
I was MCKG and GreenSkull, and everyone, they don't remember the four letters. They always remember GreenSkull.
Yeah.
So for a minute, I was like, "Fuck, bro!" When I'm on shows and they see the MCKG, they don't know it's me. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Fuck it. So now I have it like joint together to, if you just know me as GreenSkull, my music's there. But if you know me as MCKG, then obviously GreenSkull's still there. It's kind of weird how I have it. I set it up on Spotify to where like the same song is on both pages, and
Okay.
it's just me basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
that's pretty cool though, because I
weird.
feel like it'll get people, because Green Skull is such a attractive name. You know what I mean? It's such a name that like attracts people. It could get people to remember. That's the point why you did it. And I feel like if you have like, because the way I look at rap and the way that I look at making content for rap is you want like traction to come back to one page all the time, or to you as a person, you know? And I feel like a lot of it's like throwing lures out and just keep throwing lures out until it gets attract. And I feel like Green School is a good idea for that. You know what I mean? It'll get people,
Yeah,
it'll have the name,
it
it'll get
really
people into
is.
it.
The thing about the name switch or like adding the name is also is like, bro, my Instagram is Gabriel GreenSkull. Like everything that I ever did, like the radio show, my podcast is GreenSkull Podcast.
Yeah.
It's like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna add GreenSkull to this. But it's crazy because now that I added GreenSkull, they all know the 4 letters. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like
Yeah, that's
in
cool.
comparison, it's weird. Like GreenSkull's not as famous as a rapper, but
Yeah.
MCKG definitely is. And it's just like fuck. So I kind of just move with both names now. It's kind
That's
of like where
dope.
I'm at.
Nah,
It's
I
weird.
like that idea. It proves that it worked too, you know? Like people are
Yeah.
like you see the traction from it. So that's dope, man. That's hella dope.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it. If Eminem could have Slim Shady, then I'm gonna have GreenSkull. Fuck it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But hey yo, so with the release of your music going from Spook IV to Rito, did do you make beats?
So glad you got into that. I have a producer. His name is Academics. He's my uncle.
Okay.
And when I started getting into music, I kept sending him music because he was always into hip hop. Like he's a big hip hop fan. And I kept sending him my stuff. And he was like, it's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. Kept giving me feedback on certain things. And eventually, he says I inspired him, but I feel like maybe his path would have went that way even without me. But maybe I had some influence on him. But he started making beats, and man, when I tell you he's one of the best beat makers that I've ever heard, he's one of the best I've ever heard. Like he has a very technical mindset, which fits beat making, the timing, all that stuff, the numbers, and he's really good at all that. So it kind of fits with it. It fits with his personality. So he's been producing for me ever since I switched my name. Now, the crazy thing is that he been producing years back, like a year back or two before that, but I wouldn't take any of his beats, right? I'd be like, there would be like one or two I'd rap on, I'll keep it, but he just keep producing for himself really, and he'd send me these beats hoping I'd rap on it low key, but I'd be like, nah, next one, kind of be like, that's cool, but just the same way as people were like, this song's whatever or whatever to me, it kind of gave him the drive in a way for him to be able to get better. So then at that point, 2 years has passed, a year and a half has passed, and I'm switching my name, and we start coming together with concepts. Like let's make a mixtape. Let's do something that's because one of our biggest influences is Deltron 3030. If you heard of it. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure but most people wouldn't in this world. So biggest influence is that we love the dystopian feeling that they brought along. So we wanted to do something with our tapes like that, just like see how far we get. And then ever since the first beat that he made, where we talked about the concept and stuff, we just kind of been off from there. So yeah, Academics, one of the great beat makers that I truly would like. I don't know, like everything it does is really good, and just like from the soul type stuff. That's what I'm saying.
For
Yeah.
sure. So he's been producing a couple of your tracks.
Yeah, he's been producing all of my tracks. Every
Oh,
single one
okay.
of them you hear.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So it's tell me about the process. You record yourself or do you go to like a studio?
Nah, man, I record myself. I've been to a studio, and as a young person, there's only so much money you could have to spend on it. So I'd rather
Yeah.
spend on the mic instead and learn a lot of the tools myself. So that's what happened. I just stick to it. I record myself in my room. I'll go over to Axe house and we'll just like talk, and we'll just, he'll start making the beats. I'll go back home. I'll record. He'll send me the beat. I'll record. It's not very like together process. The only time we're really togetherness is when I'm giving critique on his beats or we're talking about the concept, and then we could really like get it down. But really, I just recorded my room and shit. That's the
Hell
way it
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing, just recording them on my own. Like I used to have the problem where like people would tell me to send my stems and then they wouldn't mix it right, bro. And I'm like, oh man, like I don't like the way it
Yeah,
sounds. So it's cool that like it's cool to know that you record yourself because a lot of people surprisingly even with like all this access, they don't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, that's crazy. Like you could literally do it yourself, like knowledge is power, man. As long as you know what you're doing, everybody could learn.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing too, because um, they start they wanna spend all the money on the studio and all that stuff, but it's just like you could be so much cheaper just doing it yourself. And the crazy thing about the industry now is that all they care about nowadays is the quality of sound. You know what I mean? It's how good it sounds. Like, is the decibels just right? Like that kind of takes the rawness away from me, a lot of it. I don't understand why people just dropping all these hundreds on a single song to go to the studio when, man, you barely sat on that song for like a week. You know what I mean? Like, before I went to the studio, I sat on 3 songs for like half a year, and then I went to go record those 3 songs. That's the type of like sitting on you have to do. So you don't waste your time, you don't waste your money, you don't do any of that. But some people have unlimited money. You know what I mean? So people just
Yeah.
some parents are like, here, this is your hobby, go buy all of it you want. That's a big part too. And I don't knock that, but like I said, there's a certain point of authenticity that you have to have as a rapper, who is like, are you really doing it yourself, or are you like just using, like, and it's okay to use resources. I'm not saying it's not okay to use resources. It's just like, you got to be real. You can't be using parents' money to go to the studio for the weekend. You gotta do this shit yourself. you know
Yeah, and
but
actually it's funny because like a lot of people who jump into studios, like man, I met so many artists and they tell me about their studio experience. And I'm just like, damn, like, and it's like to the T, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the studios, they got rules, they got
yeah,
fucking like if you're just an hour, it's just an hour, or like they'll just record you and they won't mix it. That's
yeah,
extra. Like there's all this like extra shit. But I always
yeah,
remind people like you don't need like a what is it like $1 million equipment for $1 million sound. Like you could
yeah,
literally just
exactly.
get your own shit together, put it literally like you can learn on YouTube how to mix this shit as clean as possible. Like a lot of people don't utilize that. It's pretty crazy.
And a lot of people don't even look at the information. Like, you could for example, you could get a really close mix, as close as you want, and then people don't know, like, hey, there's an e-master that could just finish the rest of the 25% that you could get. Like,
Yeah.
it may not be the best, but like, that shit works. That shit makes it sound clean too. So there's a lot of information out there that people just have to kind of look and see, and you could really easily become well versed in what to do. You could do a lot. You could do a hell of a lot. And even better, why I promote that is because you can have control of your sound even more. Like, the more control you have over your sound, the better. The better your whatever you have in your mind will be. You just gotta have full control. If you don't, then it gets a little tedious to start rapping.
Yeah.
It gets way
Oh yeah.
tedious.
It really
Like,
does.
for real, because you can have a beat. First of all, most of the time you don't have a beat. Like, you don't have a say in the beat, right? You pick a beat that someone else made. That's already half of the song's control out of your hands, right? So what do you have left? You have the lyrics and the way you sound and how good you sound. 3 things: lyrics, how good you sound, and the way you sound. So from there, you could like get the lyrics on point. That takes practice. But then you're going to go so far where it's like, all right, now I got to send it off, because now I got to see how good I sound. And then
Yeah.
that's just another quarter lost control. And then you're just losing all this control over your song. And at that point, you're just like a lyricist that could, have a flow. The more control over your sound, the more of a artist you become, in a way.
Yeah. I
That's for
definitely agree
sure.
with you, bro. 100%.
It's
But
all
I
good.
do I do get what you mean. Like to go back to what you're saying, it's kind of like the difference between like I would say, man, it's a tough way to describe it, but I guess in simplest terms, like the difference between just someone who rhymes and someone who's like an actual artist, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's cool to just like a lot of these like famous artists, they just rhyme. Like they don't know how to record themselves, nothing like that. They just straight up just get there, rap and dip.
Dip. Yeah. And there's a lot of for me personally, you have to know what you are. You have to, like, if you're a rapper and that's all you are, just say so. It's not embarrassing. Like, it's cool. You're a rapper, dog. But for the people that want to be more like an artist that has control over the music, like you have to know where you stand. You can't lie to yourself. Like right now, if I'm being honest, I barely even consider myself a rapper because there's so many things like a leadership, charisma, all these things that a rapper has to have that I lack in as a person that I have to work on. But but doesn't mean that I can't get it, or it doesn't mean that it's not in me. It just I have to keep working at it and to bring it out. That's where seeing the line comes into play, because you got to know how far you are from where you want to be. If you just call yourself like a producer and you're coming right out and you're like, all you do is really make beats, but you don't do anything with the mixing, you don't do anything with that, then you're a beat maker. You're not really a producer for it to say, because you do like the same thing for rapper. You have to have some sort of leadership as a producer, that you can lead a project and keep the sound right without getting too like worked up or whatever, like a beat maker would, because a beat maker would get into it and be worried about the sounds, be worried about this, while a producer has more of a controlness over everything instead of focusing on one little aspect. And that's where it comes into play. You got to be able to focus on so many things, that it's a real skill. Being over, like, it's kind of like learning a trade, getting doctor. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just call yourself a doctor if you put a bandage on a scab or a freaking wound. It's
Yeah.
kind of ridiculous. But from there, you're able to work, you're able to get where you're able to go. For me personally, I want to be able to have as much control as I can. So I'm taking up classes. Like I had to go back to schooling, and I'm going to work to get my audio engineering, because that's actually something that's a path that's not only like solidified, like even if you get it, you could find a place, you could find something to do and get money off of music. But I'd have so much more control over my music than I have now. Right now, I barely have any, right? And I'm making all this great stuff. Like I'm making a really good music in my opinion anyway. But can you imagine if I had full control? Like, poof, the sky's the limit, right? So that's why you gotta make sacrifices. You gotta do this, gotta do that. And sometimes the sacrifice isn't what you think it is, Sometimes the sacrifice is something completely different. And you're just making a play that can actually hinder your movement, your progress. But once you figure out the sacrifices that you need to make, you gotta do it. Gotta do it. That's how you get to that next title. It's all about getting to that next level, from lyricist to actual rapper persona, then to like shit. Fucking overall, like my best example was Mac Miller. He did all that. He went from the rapper to lyricist to full on artist, where he was just so in control of his own music that it was like he was playing his own instruments in his song. And you know what I mean? Like that's something that's like that very few people have control of. Very few. And
Yeah.
that's like a goal to strive for if you're serious about becoming like the artistry and caring about the artistry. If you're not, that's cool. Get your money, do your rapper shit. But some of us really do care about where we're going with that, A lot of us. Just the
Yeah.
rappers are louder. We get over yelled a lot of the time. A lot of the people that are just in it for the quick recording session, for the looks, they're louder. They're always going to be louder than the people who are, that are putting their heads down and working for it. It's kind of, they're doing their own work, but you know, there's a certain line that you cross with authenticity and all that. I keep going back to authenticity, but to me in rap, it's kind of important. It's an important trait to have for a
Yeah.
rapper. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, that's honestly, like I said, man, I like the way you explain everything. It seems like you think deeply a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of like there's a lot of ways to think about rap, man. There's a lot of ways that you could put yourself in a box. And like right now, how I see rap is like me outside of the fence, looking in, seeing everyone in the playground having fun. It's like, damn, why the hell can I get in? It's kind of like that right now for me. So when you're looking at everything go down from a distance, from across the fence, it's kind of like, well, you see everything go down, you see every
Yeah.
move that's made and you just think about it. And then you think about it, and another way I like to think of rap is kind of like a curse, a sickness, because like once you start thinking about it, you can't stop thinking about it. You just can't stop, because
Oh
it's what
yeah.
I love to do. Like
Yeah.
at nights I'll be up thinking of moves that I'll probably never make, not in a couple years, but moves that I like that I could make, that I like, oh man, if I do this one day, that's definitely gonna help, put it to the list. and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And one of my songs that are coming out of my newer mixtapes, it describes that feeling where it's like I look at my family members and I'm like, okay, you have a pretty good life, like you kind of got stuff together. Or like even my peers, the people that I grew up with that are my age, it's like you don't have this curse though. Like it's like you have all that, but like I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. I was the one that was just like that happened to fall into it. But now that I have it, like I just had to deal with it, like a cancer or something. You just gotta keep dealing with it. But I love it. There's nothing I can say against it. Like even if I look at it in a bad light, like there's nothing to stop me from loving it. It's just how I control it in my mind. It's like, okay, it's a curse. I'm glad that you don't have this, because if you have it, then you'd be up all night worrying. You'd be up all night doing this. You'd be basing your life decisions on a career that may not happen. That's the scary part. That's the part that
Yeah.
keeps the artist up at night, right? And so yeah, I just try to make sure that I look at it like what it is. It's kind of like a disease. It's just in my mind. It's like a bug that ticks every time. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty deep the way that I think about it. But I think as much as it kind of hurts me, it helps me in the long run, because I just like think about it. And now I'm able to have these conversations with like you, for example, where it's like, okay, we could get into it,
Yeah.
because
And I
we're not
trust
even
me, I know
really.
what you mean, like 100%. I know what you mean. Like, I appreciate you being transparent too. Not much people that talk about rap music or like obsessing over something that they really like. They don't they really don't just say it like it is. You know what I mean? Because like ever since I started making music, I could relate to that. I could relate to the nonstop ticking and like the like,
Yeah,
bro, people don't understand. Like when you're an artist, you don't listen to music the same. It's all different now. Like it can actually fuck up your experience for listening to music now, because it's like it just changes everything. Like, oh, like the way the sound is, or like the bass and how people recorded it. You start thinking about every single fucking thing. So I think that's dope. I think it's cool how like you just said it. You know what I mean? Like, bro, there's so many people I feel like they just need to say it and they don't fucking say it. And like that's your truth. You're saying it like you said it's like a curse.
yeah.
Sometimes me and the homies will talk about that and we'll be like, bro, I dead ass can't stop thinking about this shit, because it's like, how the fuck do we stop? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just weird, but yeah, that's pretty sick that the way you worded it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's just you gotta think about it a lot. Like if you don't think about it, then you can't have these
Yeah.
conversations. Like we could talk about my music all on, but the music is just gonna say what I'm saying right now. So might as well just like we could talk about the sound that I'm making or whatever. But right now, like
Yeah.
this is what you're gonna hear on the tapes is what you're gonna hear right now. So just say it straight out. Like,
Yeah.
and if you want to say it even more straight out, like raps come to a point where, especially since we've been with it for so long, like shit, it kind of sucks. Like I'd rather listen to another genre. Like right now, emo punk from like 2005 type shit. Like that's the shit I like. Like I listen to that. But like I just can't listen to the new stuff that comes out too much, unless it's like from an artist I really like. That's something that's like, the old like an OG, or like something like a Kendrick or something, or like a Logic or something that like I listen to, and because of the beats and the way they do it, it kind of reminds me of what I'm doing. But a lot of that new stuff that comes out, it's hard for me to like. It's almost like I'm forcing myself to like a lot of it, just because my
Yeah.
friends are like, oh, this new track that came out. I don't want to say any artists because I like a lot of artists, and I'm just saying, but like this new track came out from this artist, and it's like, oh, dude, and I just like I listened to it the first time. It's like that first time is always like it's always the worst time, because it's like the rapper's listening, the artist is listening, and it's like, is this really good shit, or are you just listening because like you're fed it, right? And it's just like
Yeah.
thoughts like that is just like that's where the conversation should be held at, where it's like, where is the authenticity of all this music, right? Like you could just make as much shit as you want, but there's only so many times you could talk about bitches and doing your drug that you do,
Yeah.
and you're doing this. I mean, it's cool, like talk about it in a song, dog. Like it's rap, that's where it's from, that's where it's based off of. But like, dog, you do it every song, and then you drop like,
Yeah.
for I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but like just saying example. I'm using myself, if anything, as if I were to do that music, like dog, I drop every night, like every year. If I were to drop every year and then have like doing that music, and then the 7 tracks that I drop or trap fucking like talking about ass and shit like that, like bro, we've heard it, bro.
For real,
Like
yeah.
just because I'd be dropping in the valley doesn't make it any like doesn't make it special. It just makes it like it doesn't like in the grand scheme of things, if you go out in the world, it does not make it special, bro. Like you gotta be able to really drop some potent stuff nowadays, especially for a place like the valley where I can't imagine all these artists that are going through the same thing where it's like, damn, I keep being over yelled by the guy in the fucking back. But I'm up front every single time. I'm the first to the show. Like, how am I being out yelled by the guy in the back? It doesn't make sense. So you gotta just a lot of artists out there, man. It makes you feel lonely. It makes you feel this, that, that. But like you just gotta stick with it. Like there's no other option.
Yeah. You know what's crazy too is you touched on it a little bit. It's like a lot of the songs that come out, they're all like the same shit, which is hilarious because like it's just a different artist every time saying like the same bullshit. But it's sometimes I feel like new music that drops is just like good quotations good to people because of fame. Like to
Yeah.
be totally honest, like for example, like a good example is like K Dot, Kendrick Lamar, his new album. That shit musically sounds great, but like the lyrics, it's on top tier for sure. But for some reason, it just sounds to, in my opinion, it just sounds so forced. It
Yeah.
sounds like it sounds like somebody who's talking about like they have problems, but they're faking them. Like it's just weird. And then he's got like a whole Baby Keem approach where like Baby Keem, that sound is all over that Big Steppers album. So I
Yeah.
just feel like okay, so Baby Keem blew up, right? And then like you have the same kind of sound, and then people say it's like the best album of the year, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think that shit's kind of overhyped. It's still good. I'm not saying it's
It's a solid
trash.
album. It's not the best album of the year. How can you
Yeah,
say that when the year's like when it came out, the year's not even halfway over, even right now, like it's barely
yeah.
getting over. So
That's what
definitely
I
not
mean
the
by like
best album.
popularity. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like when people just drop shit and it's just because it's Kendrick, like it's like
Yeah.
good. You know what I'm saying? Like I think everyone should have some sort of filter, because then otherwise you're just gonna let bullshit just come in whenever.
Yeah, exactly. And just because it's like, let's say for example, like DJ Khaled dropped a recent tape, like probably a lot of good songs on there, but it's DJ Khaled. Everyone's gonna listen to it because it's DJ Khaled. You know, that's what it's at now. Or Lil Baby. Everyone's gonna listen to it because it's Lil Baby. Everyone's gonna listen to it because your name's already attached, and that's the reason why the music is getting that immediate like critical success is just because of the name. Which kind of sucks, but just like again, it's just something that I don't know how it got to that point, but it got to that point. And the funny thing is when you listen to old school rap, rappers always point out the same exact thing that's going on now. It's just that it's happening on a greater scale because the internet, that's one of the biggest things, the internet. And it's hard to not sound like a bitter artist. You know what a bitter artist is. To me, a bitter artist is someone that like, oh, I don't like that. Oh no, this, that, that. It's hard to sound like that and be authentic and love this stuff at the same time because everyone loves to just point the finger at you and be like, look at for example, Boomer over there, or oh, look at the old head over there. You know what I mean? It's so easy to make yourself a target if you just say it, but like you got to be so genuine. Like right now, I'm trying to like just be 100%, where it's like it's not like that. It's just because we see that sometimes there's some soulless bitches out there. You gotta call out the soulless bitches, put some soul into the art form again, because it sounds too robotic right now. Everyone's out here just doing the same thing. And I don't think it's because it spoke to them, like it spoke to them like that certain time, like maybe a couple songs did, but I don't think like how rap goes through its phases, like every couple years, every 3-4 years, it goes through the phases. I don't think like a 3 to 4 year phase can define who you are like that. You know what I mean? Like a couple songs, couple albums released and shit like that, and you make your whole persona just like that, just from that time frame. But for us, for the people who know, it's the whole fucking dome. It's the whole thing that makes us fall in love, you know, not just because you saw Playboy Cardi break out and you saw Lil Uzi break out and you want to take that, what they did, and just hold it to you. Like, that's not, it's the whole scope. It's not just because Lil Uzi broke out. It's each thing. It's like, okay, because Kendrick broke out even further. Okay, it's because like back then, like Most Def, all these things, like it's just it's a whole, like it's every little dot that you got to think about when rap and hip hop. And then from there, you know, you could start speaking on this shit, because a lot of people just speak on it without fucking knowing what they're talking about. I don't want to speak on it without knowing what I talk about. Like, that's why I don't do podcasts. That's why I don't do this, that, because like most of the time it's like, what if like what if I'm not, what if someone calls me out like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But like, it's like, damn,
It's
bro,
funny.
like at some point you think
Well, I
about it
mean,
so
like, you
much,
know,
right?
think about it. Like, it's everything's perspective. You know,
Yeah,
like it's all perspective. It's just like my hot take on the Kendrick album. You know, in my opinion, it's not that great, but
yeah,
you know, it stuff like that will actually move. You know, like, oh, he said it wasn't good, and then bam, like now my name's out there, probably in a negative light, but it's moving.
yeah, I
Even
get you.
though even though I didn't say really anything crazy about Kendrick, but like that's just an example. But I think it's just all perspective. It's all opinion. Nothing is like truth, you know, unless it's true. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if certain things, you know, but I think it's cool that even like just this in general, like we don't really know each other, obviously, but you're still down to hop on the podcast and just talk about like just everything. I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah, thanks, man. No, thanks for having me too on this stuff, because you know, you could only think about it so much without getting into some type of platform to talk about. You know what I mean? Especially if you want
Yeah.
to become a rapper, like there has to be, like, shit. I might get hung for the stake for some of the stuff I might say at some point about rap, just because I like it's really something that, like, just the whole persona wise, I hate that shit. Like, I just don't really, it doesn't attract me, the whole, you know, having to go in front of the camera and do all this just for the views, you know, that doesn't attract me. But it's something I have to do. But maybe this is like a middle ground to it, you know, speaking my mind. It could be a middle ground instead of having the
Yeah.
gold chains and the diamond rings and teeth and the, you know, rings. It's just like, okay, trade that off for just speaking my mind. Yeah, I might get hung by the stake more, but like, screw it. Like, it's all the internet. Just turn off my phone and I'm fine for the day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, the internet's just the internet, you know, like it's kind of funny. I kind of look at it like high school. Like, once you leave high school, like what really matters, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's
Yeah.
crazy. But what's next for you, man? Like where do you feel you are right now? Like, do you think that you've leveled up? Do you think that you're at the next step? You know, like for I assume that you haven't reached that goal yet, you know, because the
No.
way you spoke on it. So where do you think you are?
In terms of my goal, which is having complete control over what I do, right? That's my goal. So I have complete control. Yeah, being heard and stuff like that. That comes along with it later, in my opinion. Having complete control of what I do. Um, I'm very far from it. I'm not, we're nowhere near close. I'm still very young, barely 20 years old. You know, like I just still a lot to learn, still a lot to do with everything.
Damn, you 20, bro. That's good. You got
Yeah,
hella
so
time.
I got hella time, and right now, you know, um, music wise, I'm always leveling up. There's no stopping that, right? That's something that at this point it happens subconsciously. You know, like, you know, some people will be like, oh, I can't wait till I level up. Can't wait till I get like that next. Like, I know it's eventually gonna come. It's just like, when is it? It's just, it's a matter of time, right? And if I have a lot of time, then I'm chilling. I'll just keep leveling up. And you know, for my music, if you go into it for a little bit, you know, um, I like to drop mixtapes, because mixtapes are a real definition, or I guess you could consider them albums, but they're really definition of like your life and where you're at, you know, like the just like taking a, like a tattoo or whatever at a certain time, you know, you always remember where you got the tattoo, unless you're fucked up drunk. But like, you always remember where you get that tap from. You always know what it means. And those are where like the mixtapes and the albums are for me. So as far as like where I'm at right now, I'd say you just have to go to the new tape that I'm dropping soon and listen to that. And every word out there, which I make sure when I write lyrics, here's a little bit of my process. When I might write lyrics, it's 100% every time. Everything means something to someone, right? So it's not lyrics that are just completely out there. It's nothing like that. Like, yeah, I do like a corny pun every now and then. I like to throw those in, but most of the time, you listen to my lyrics, I'm 100% sure you'd relate at least almost, if not like 75% of lyrics to 60% of lyrics, you relate to something in your life. That's what I try to make sure and make sure it's digestible. So, a new tape will be dropping soon on that. And you could really see how I craft my lyrics and how academic does his work, but how I really go into it because a lot of the meaning can be hidden behind metaphors. Rap is written in metaphors, metaphors, similes, all that, double entendres, all those things that people use to just like to give that extra spice. Just it hides the layers behind it. So what I like to do with my tapes is kind of, do that, but extra. That's why my tapes have a theme. Each tape has a theme. Right now, I'm going through a theme tape, which is full, disconnected, and the hard drive, all having to do with some form of disk or hard drive, where it's like there's a disk in it, and I just like to take that and run with it. Something I like to do. And within that, you could build a whole universe, which I have done in a way. Let me talk on that a little bit, just for a little bit, if you have time. So this fool, I was just like, me and academics we're thinking like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, I love Deltron 3030. We got to do something where it's like either in the future or something. I love how Logic did Tits, The Incredible True Story. I love that shit. Like I may not listen to every song, but the concept is so cool. So we decided to go on that and build a concept space, another universe, really sci-fi it out. We have to go sci-fi. I fuck with sci-fi. I'm a video gamer. I game all the time. I play Dead Space. I do all this shit. You know what I mean? Like I really love sci-fi shit. So we took that approach and we're like, okay. I was just thinking, what's like the most interesting story that I could just come up with and rap about that relates to me? The last human ever, easy. Put that down. The last human ever. What is he doing? He has to be searching for something because I'm searching for something, right? I'm searching for a greater level up, whatever. He's searching for a hard drive and it has to mean something to him. So I was like, why is he searching for this hard drive? It's the last remnant that's ever had that last remnant of humanity, basically, right? And it's filled with almost every hip hop song on the hard drive, right? Just filled with all of it. And it's lost in space. It's at a certain planet. He has coordinates. He has information on it. And he has done nothing up until his life until the point where he's finding these coordinates, right? And now he has to set off on this adventure to go find it. And just simple like that, right? Like it doesn't have to be too into detail. It just has to be a start, right? And that's where this fool begins. And around that time, I was leaving to San Diego, up here where I'm at right now. And I was leaving to San Diego and I was like, okay, this is perfect. So I made the disc full about my experience of leaving, just like how he took the decision to leave to go find that hard drive, right? So that was the first tape. Second tape is called Disconnected. Around that time was really like before I was leaving, like really right before. And there's two ways you could think about that tape. Is you could either think of it like literally like I disconnected myself from people, right? Like I was like, okay. At the time I felt really like I didn't want to not talk to anybody, but no one felt like they were connecting with me at the time because I was going through this thing where it's like, I'm leaving this, that, I'm saying goodbye to everyone. Not a lot of people in my family do that. I can't really talk like that. So, and not only that, but the whole rap game is a whole nother elephant in the room that I felt disconnected with. So that was like the actual meaning. But, I hid it behind this thing where it's like, okay, he's traveling to the hard drive. Halfway there, his spaceship shuts off, right? Just the middle of space. He sees other spaceships that were along the way that are just completely off. He didn't know why. He kept traveling. His shut off. Now he's completely disconnected from everything, right? On his way to search for whatever he was searching for. how do you cope with that in the story, right? And that's how you do the metaphor for that. And I get into it in that. And then for the hard drive, which is I'm releasing, I had to release it in 2 tapes because there were too many songs, which is pretty proud of. There's 18 songs. I'm gonna release one like 10 maybe. Try to reach that 10 mark, 20 songs. Yeah. So when it comes to that, that's just basically me living up here in San Diego. It's hard, it's expensive, all this stuff happens. One thing I realized up here was that whatever you think is going to happen or whatever you plan to happen, the opposite happens every single time, right? That's just something that I don't know how, but that's just something I learned. So when it comes to the hard drive, I'm thinking, I'm working, I'm like, I'm going through all this stuff, like I'm fucking hungry up here, this, that, like I'm hungry in the game, I'm hungry in this, like I'm just fucking hungry, right? So the hard drive is really like a double metaphor about, the actual hard drive, you finding that piece, that piece that's missing, and real life, which is like it's a hard drive out here, man. You can't just keep going. It's not going to be easy. If you want what you want, it's not going to be easy at all. You want it to be hard. You want the struggle. And the reason I left is because I want to struggle. My whole life has been kind of like a bubble, like I said, and I needed to understand what I had before I had to lose it to understand what I had. And that's where
Yeah.
the hard drive is the essence of. It deals with a lot. It deals with addiction. It does deal with a little bit of addiction, which is whether to be a substance or to be the music, which was both for me. It does deal with that little bit where it's like I can't stop thinking about it. It's always on something I always do no matter what. Even when I'm like feeling sad, no matter what, I still do it. So that's
Yeah.
like it has a lot of lyrics towards addiction. It has a lot of lyrics towards finding yourself, because I think the whole point of this is to find myself, and to get at a good place. And that was the hard drive for me, just figuring out what the hell I'm gonna do, like what's my next move, like trying to figure out the food situation, how to figure out all the shit that's just like it was difficult, especially since I'm very antisocial. I'm a very antisocial. I don't really like to talk to anyone when I'm in a social gathering. Like if I go to a hip hop event, like it's really difficult for me to make connections. And that's just another thing that's just super hard. You know what I mean? You can't do this rap shit without having to do that. And that's just a whole nother battle that like people that I'm pretty sure tons of artists like probably never even made it because of that fact where they had to socialize and
Yeah.
do all that. And all this stuff I talk about on my tape, and it's just all this stuff I want to talk about more to people. It's no one talks about this shit, talks about the hardships anymore right now. Everyone just cares about like what's in your face, and it's kind of difficult to do any like to have a conversation when people are always putting shit in your face. So yeah, that's the point of all this right now. Why these 2 tapes that I'm gonna release, the hard drives, are so essential to who I am right now. It's because, man, I wouldn't be able to have any of this thought if I wouldn't have gone through some type of struggle. That's all that matters. I'm not saying that music is born out of struggle, but purpose and value is. That's what that's about those tapes that I feel like I have to get that down, because people won't really understand if they would just start listening. They'll be like, "What the fuck? Like, what is all this space shit? It's all a metaphor. It all relates to my life.
Yeah.
That's what that is." And if you could look past some of the sci-fi references and stuff, there's a lot of great lyrics there that are just like, that really hit the soul. So, yeah,
Damn,
that's all
bro.
that.
That's fucking dope, honestly.
Thank you.
I like the three album concept. That shit is pretty sick. And the way like you said the hard drive because you're having a hard drive.
Yeah,
That's pretty fucking hard.
yeah,
That's
thank you.
sick. And it's cool how like I think you're right. There is a lot of music now that is really not like sent back to like people talking about struggles and stuff. It's I feel like a lot of people think it's corny now, but it's still pretty dope, like in my opinion. Um, but yeah, shit, man, that's a lot of information to digest right there. I feel like maybe if have you ever put up a video where like you tell people about like these mixtapes and what they mean and like Because bro, like if you were to explain that to everybody, it's like a fucking movie.
A
Like
little bit.
it's literally
Yeah.
like a movie. Like while you were talking about it, because I don't know, my brain just works weird. Because like as you described it all, I could see it all, and like
Yeah.
I'm just imagining the music because I haven't heard it yet, but it sounds fucking dope.
Yeah. A lot of it's just, and that's the thing. A lot of it's like going into the actual sound of it. It's just like we're just like dystopian feeling. Let's go with some fucking crazy trumpets, or let's go with some crazy like synth that just like makes you feel like you're being blasted into space, and it's just like that's what we wanted. So if you ever like that shit where it's just like it really pulls you into the story, yeah, that's the shit to listen to in my opinion. Where it's like if you like rap and you like that cinematic shit, we do that over there. We like to do that. It's fun. It's fun. But yeah,
Hell yeah,
man,
bro.
thank you for understanding at least a little bit. I feel like if I do a video of me describing, you ever see Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the mailroom episode where Charlie is just like fucking has like a bunch of just like crazy red lines going everywhere, connecting these random shit. I just
Yeah.
feel like I'd be like a madman. But yeah, no, I feel like that's a good idea. I should probably maybe put it in people's faces more about what's going on.
Yeah, because that's actually like it's very detailed, and I think if maybe you did a video where you explain all that and then play the music with it, like
Yeah,
I think that's like perfect. Like it's literally like a movie, and it could even like you could probably even work on like a short film with it like later, or
true.
just like however it goes. Because like to be honest, like most artists that I talk to, they don't really have concepts anymore. It's really just like it's not always about like bad bitches, but it's always like uh something that vaguely means or holds value to them.
Yeah.
Like when I asked you that question in the beginning, I didn't even know that was going to be your answer. Like that's a really good answer. What I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
way you detailed all that shit, it's like, bro, I feel like that could be everything. That could be a comic book, that could be a fucking short film, that could be literally like anything. And
Yeah.
it crosses over to everything.
Yeah, man. I try to put some thought into it. I understand what you mean too. Like some artists would just like grab a word, grab a word that means something to them. Like let's go as generic possible, happiness. And then they make the tape out of happiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
like
that's
something
like the
simple.
very yeah, but it's a lot. It's harder, but it's a lot more fun to put thought into it. Like people will be like,
Yeah.
they'll ask you like a simple question and you'll give them like this crazy answer. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, the hell? Put all that thought
Yeah.
into it. Like,
It's
yeah, I
cool,
get
man.
that.
I like the deep answer and like the way you explain everything. Freaking to be honest, like I've only heard what Fredo has sent me. Like
Yeah,
I know you guys did two songs. I think one was called Praise, and then
yeah,
another one, I forgot the other one's called, but it's like I know the cover art and he sent it to me earlier. I was listening to it too. And I was just like, man, but now that you got into like how everything and how your process is, like, I'm gonna start listening to more of your mixtapes just to get an idea of who I was talking to. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's pretty cool. Like this
Thanks,
has been a
man.
good conversation. It's been dope, bro. Honestly. Like
Yeah,
I'm glad
it
that
has been.
Fredo told me about you because it's been a while since I've discovered an artist that actually like puts thought, and it's pretty refreshing, honestly.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on this podcast. I woke up really late and I just got up. My hair's a mess, and I was like, screw it. Like,
No
let's see
worries.
what good. Let's see if we could warm up. And we definitely warmed up. We did it. We
Oh yeah, bro.
talked about some good shit for sure. A lot of actually we talked about everything I think I wanted to talk about. So hell yeah to that.
Cool,
Fuck
man.
yeah.
Sounds dope. But anyways, man, thanks again. This has been dope, and you have a good day, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
All right, peace.
You're listening to the Green Skull Podcast.
A podcast for Fife fans, music artists, and creatives alike.